So today I thought I'd try out this ultimate speed oil pump. So basically this is just a simple suction pump that connects up to your car battery and allows you to drain the oil out of the engine via the dipstick tube. Now I got this for £9.99 from Lidl, and I thought, do you know what, at that price I can't go far wrong, even if it turns out not to work. Now I've noticed that a number of other YouTubers have had great success with this, so I thought my chances were going to be pretty good, given that the success rate was actually pretty good, to be honest with you. The kit comes with the pump, which connects to the battery positive and negative terminal. Also comes with a couple of pieces of plastic or rubber hose rather. You have the smaller diameter hose, which is the suction side of the hose that goes into the engine via the dipstick tube. And you've got the larger hose, which is, I guess you call it the discharge hose, which will basically drain your oil off into your chosen receptacle. Now, don't expect this to get all of the oil out of the sump. This is not a substitute for actually doing a proper sump plug off oil change. But if you, for whatever reason, need to drain some oil off of the engine, or if it's been overfilled, then this could be quite a good thing to actually use to be able to do that. Now, I thought I'd give it a go, and I wanted to see if it would actually work. Little bit of a clue, it didn't. So, I took out the dipstick as the guide tells you to do so. I also removed the oil filler cap, which is something I do every time I change the oil, just so you don't get any sort of air locks or anything in the engine, which is unlikely, but it's just something I like to do anyway. So it's a bit fiddly getting the pipe in. You have to feed it in the way that I'm doing, and then you will sort of feel a point where it hits something, which I would hope is the bottom of the sump. If you've actually got a sump that's in sort of two levels, you may find that you actually hit the first level of the sump. So if you say got a sump that has a sort of a deeper part at the bottom where the drain plug lives, the K11 sump is relatively simple, thankfully, so it's unlikely that I'm going to hit sort of any ledge or baffles or anything like that. I can't remember if it's a baffled sump or not, to be honest with you. So I got that in, as you can see there, had all of my pipe work connected up, and just to the left hand side of the picture you can see that I've got the receptacle that I'm going to use in order to drain the oil into. So I got all of it set up, and I was going to use a battery which is on the ground. It's actually separate to the car battery. It is basically just a battery which I use for this sort of kind of action. So I got everything set up, I got the terminals connected, I got everything in, as you can see there. I switched it on, there was a single bump from the pump, and then nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. Now, I wondered what had gone wrong, so I actually tried connecting the pump up to the battery in the car, because I know that that's charged. Nothing. I even got my 12-volt car battery charger out of the garage and gave it a go on that. Absolutely nothing at all. So at this point I start knocking it, as you can see, as I thought the motor may have stuck, but nothing. So I thought I'd actually take it apart and have a look to see if I could find any obvious faults. The first obvious fault was that one of the leads had come off the power switch. I can't remember if it was the positive or the negative lead, but either way, a lead had come off. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it another go. So I put the power on, connected it up to the battery, and absolutely nothing. As you can see there, no motor movement whatsoever. The other thing I noticed is the actual motor wouldn't move. Now, it would move ever so slightly, it would go from left to right ever so slightly, but it was almost as if something had seized. Now this got me onto thinking, well, in that very short burst when I tried to kick it off initially, did I burn out the motor? I mean, I would be very surprised if I did, because it's not something I've had happen before. I haven't managed to burn out a motor by just having it connected for a matter of seconds and it not turning anywhere. Normally the motor will just sort of, stick, and then when you take the power off again, it will be absolutely fine once you've removed whatever is hindering its progress. So I actually managed to get the whole assembly out. As you can see there, you've got the motor. You also have at the front what is effectively the pump unit. The motor itself is held in with a couple of screws that you can see that I'm undoing here at the moment, and it's a very simple connection. There is literally a positive lead going to one terminal of the motor and a negative lead going to the other. It's not really much more exciting than that, to be honest with you. But as soon as I got the motor disconnected, as you can see here, it's absolutely fine. Spinning it away, it's not seized at all. At the back of the motor, though, you do have a little cooling fan which keeps everything sort of fairly cool, which, if this was working, should mean that you have fairly good reliability throughout the unit's life. Anyway, even with connecting that back up, absolutely nothing. Not any sort of life in the motor at all. The pump unit is also still seized, so that leads me to believe that the pump unit is at fault. Now, as you can see there, I gave the motor a bit of a sniff to see if I could smell any, sort of burnt, motory type smells, but absolutely nothing. Now, what I did now was, because I had nothing to lose, I pulled the motor off of its actual terminal and basically connected the battery charger direct to the motor. Now, if this was going to work, it would have worked. You would have immediately seen the motor start spinning, because I thought, well, maybe there's a problem in the lead itself. There could be a breakage in the lead, which I hadn't noticed. I'd be a bit surprised if there was, but at this point I was willing to try anything. And no problems whatsoever. Nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with the connection. Nothing wrong at all. So at this point, as you can see there, tried, because it was still connected to the battery, to see if there was a problem with the lead, and I very quickly discovered that there wasn't. No problems whatsoever. So this got me onto thinking, well, I don't know what to do now. It's quite obvious that the motor has burnt out. So I thought, I'm going to see what the problem is with this. So this is the oil pump. We've already diagnosed that the motor is toast, even though I've never actually used this. So I thought, well, maybe this is seized because there's no oil in there. And as you can see, there's oil in there. And once you remove that cover, the pump spins absolutely fine. Now, the pump actually resembles an oil pump in a car, which isn't surprising. But the way that it works is it sort of creates a suction on that small line, which obviously draws oil into it, and it's the oil that actually keeps the pump lubricated. One of the instructions actually states that to clean the pump, and before storage, you run a small amount of clean oil through it, and then you can put it into storage, and the pump ultimately stays lubricated for your next session. However, even with the cover back on, the pump wouldn't turn, so the actual pump piece wouldn't turn at all. So at this point, I just gave up. I thought, well, if there was any warranty on this, I've ripped it apart, so I'm not going to be able to claim on that warranty. I did end up keeping the hoses, because it's always useful to have rubber hoses around. I did think about keeping the pump unit and trying to adapt a drill to work on it, but nah, no point. Anyway, bit of a letdown, but there you go. If you found this interesting, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you again very soon. Take care, and thanks for watching.